All right, let's have a little fantasy fun here as we get ready for the season to begin Thursday night. So we're going to make some predictions here today. I want you to jump in. If you're listening, you can leave comments, whatever social media platform you're on right now. Let us know your thoughts. And we'll begin with just a general, all right, who's going to be the MVP at each position this year? Who do you think will be the number one overall quarterback at the end of the season? Now, part of this factors in, who will play the most games and put up the most points. That usually, that's the MVPs, because there will be some guys that, man, they played great, but they only play 7 weeks. Well, they can't really be the MVP if they leave you hanging after that. So I'll start, and Tripp is actually he walked in today wearing his jersey. So I think the quarterback MVP this year will be Lamar Jackson. I think the step that Zay Flowers will take in his second year as a wide receiver will be significant. And I believe the addition of Derrick Henry is going to take a huge load off of Lamar Jackson. I still think Lamar will run, but he won't have to run quite as much and get banged up as much. The touchdowns they're just going to score more touchdowns. They're going to have more opportunities. When it's third and short, you hand it off to Derrick Henry, you're getting those first downs, more opportunities to score, more opportunities for yardage. And I just believe Lamar, when I kind of factor in some of the other quarterbacks and their situations, I think Lamar is going to be the guy this year. So sadly, he's not on any of my fantasy teams. So that's just a sort of an unbiased take on that front. But who's your quarterback MVP this year?
I mean, I love Lamar, and imagine having to defend that Ravens offense with the weapons that they have and the different ways they can hurt you. I mean, they're going to be scary on offense.
I'm curious to see who their second receiver will be this year. Rashad Bateman, someone else going to emerge. I don't know, but with Flowers and Andrews and Henry, it's as strong as it gets.
I think it's going to be Isaiah Likely.
It could be. I like Likely.
It feels likely. I'm going to go QB MVP. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. I'm sorry, man. I think that the Cardinals offense is going to be really, really good. And when Kyler came back last year, even when he wasn't at full health, he was still a top 10 fantasy guy. I mean, it's hard to know what the whole Cardinals team is going to look like, but I think that their offense is going to be exciting and dynamic. And I think Kyler's going to run a lot and throw for some pretty high yardage. And so I'm going Kyler Murray here, man.
I can't get away. I had lunch. This would make me sound cooler than I am, but I had lunch with a former Cardinals football player, and his take on Kyler Murray was not very good. So I haven't been able to let go of that. And listen, I've been watching other fantasy shows. People are hyped. They're psyched about Kyler Murray, and maybe from a fantasy perspective, his ability to run and throw, and they've got some weapons. Maybe you're right, but I just can't trust them. I can't fully trust them.
I get the immaturity concerns, and as a real life quarterback, I get the sort of like attitude issues that you might have. But just in terms of when the guy gets on the field and he plays football, he is so dynamic. He's so exciting. He runs more than we think, and he's a good passer. And now I think he is surrounded with weapons that I think are pretty good. Besides Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, I think that Greg Dortch and Michael Wilson are also good receivers. So I just think that the Cardinals offense is going to be prolific this year.
The only Cardinals player I had was Michael Wilson, and I just dropped him to pick up Samaje Perine. So now I'm out on the Cardinals officially. So we will go head to head on the Cardinals all season long. So that's all right. All right. So the MVP at the running back position, I think I've made this clear since our first episode of the new season back in July. I have been all in on Bijan Robinson. I have heard the hype for Tyler Algier, and it hasn't stopped me. I think Bijan will be the number one fantasy running back this season. And I know, even over CMC, I just think even the offensive line with San Francisco makes me a little nervous. And I just think for the course of the season, Bijan's going to be the guy in Atlanta. So what about you, running back?
I'm going Kenneth Walker here. I went back and looked at this, man, because I was like, is my memory playing tricks on me? Like, am I wrong about this? And week 10 last year, he got hurt in week 11. Okay. And he missed a couple of games there. But at week 10, Kenneth Walker was the running back 6, and Seattle had already had their bye. And I think it was half PPR scoring. So I just think that Kenneth Walker is really good. I think that offense is going to change in a drastic way this year. I think they're going to be faster paced. They're going to run more plays. And the narrative on Walker has always been that he's not a pass catching back and that's going to be Zach Charbonnet's role. I think that is still possible. I think it's just more that he has never been on offenses that have featured the running back as a pass catcher. Pete Carroll never did that. I mean, there was just no, so I think Kenneth Walker, who's being drafted somewhere around RB like 15 right now, is going to be top 5 running back. I'll put it at top 5 running back. And so I'm going to say, yeah, if everything breaks right, he will be the running back MVP and a guy you want to have on your fantasy team.
I would be psyched about that. I'm all in on him as well. So I've got Bijan and Kenneth Walker on the same team.
That feels really good.
Yes, let's go. So I'm psyched. All right. So the MVP at the wide receiver position, so my strategy all draft season has been get a top running back in the first round. And so I do not have any of the top wide receivers. My best wide receiver that I have on a team is Garrett Wilson. So I'm going to give you, though, my fantasy MVP wide receiver. And this is against, because I never draft him. I'm just not a fan of his, but it's Tyreek Hill. I still think of all the wide receivers of the top receivers. If you were going to pick a guy to score the most points this season, it's probably going to be him, because I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I'd put him in the conversation here. But I'm worried about CeeDee Lamb. I'm worried about Jamar Chase because of the offseason, and especially with Chase, what's going on in Cincinnati. So we've talked about that the last couple of weeks. So of those guys, I'm out on the Vikings with Justin Jefferson. I don't think he will be the top wide receiver this year either. So it'll be fun. Maybe there's a guy that appears. Maybe it is Garrett Wilson this year. But as of today, with the information that we have and the history, and we know what Tyreek Hill can do, he would be my prediction for the wide receiver MVP. What about for you?
I'm going to go Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
I think that he is going to score 1,000,000 points. I think that the Lions offense is going to be super exciting. They don't play outside until week 14. I keep coming back to that. And I think with the development of Sam Laporta, hopefully with Jameson Williams kind of clearing things out with the longer routes, I just think he's going to catch a ton of passes. Amon-Ra, more and more, I find myself thinking that if all of those receivers were there for me at the second pick of the draft, I haven't had a second pick so far, but I think that I might pick Amon-Ra as my number 1 wide receiver overall, and I think he's going to be the MVP at the wide receiver position.
I got no problem with that, other than I'm going to give you the tight end MVP, Sam Laporta. So I'm going to lean as maybe Laporta gets a little more extra, but I think he's the real deal. I think he came in last year, burst onto the scene, and he's not going anywhere. So if he's healthy, I think he's the most talented. He's the young guy. And he's needed in that offense too. I hope Jameson Williams is a stud this year. I actually just traded him away. So now I'm kind of out on him, but you're right. Amon-Ra will be awesome. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's going to be great again, but Laporta in the red zone, snagging, plenty of catches from Jared Goff. I think he'll be the number 1 tight end this year. What about for you?
I'm torn between 2 guys, but I'm going to follow my heart and not my head here, and I'm going to say Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
I think this is the year when it comes together for Kyle Pitts, best quarterback that he's ever had by a wide margin, and I mean that whether Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix is the guy who is on the field. I just think he finally is going to be unlocked by good quarterback play, and I'm going to choose to believe the things that we heard about him coming into the NFL and after his rookie season, and I'm going to go with him over Dalton Kincaid, which was the other guy I was considering. And maybe we're going to talk about him a little further down here. But yeah, Kyle Pitts, that's my guy, tight end.